Our final inductee tonight is Mark Egley. Mark, I've known him for quite a few years now. He's widely regarded as one of the best golf instructors in the state of Iowa. But what truly sets Mark apart isn't his ability to teach the golf swing, but I think it's how much he cares about the people he works with. And when I say that, it's not caring about what they shoot or how well they play. It's genuinely caring about their lives, what's going on with them, and kind of just how they're doing in general. He does way more than anyone could ever expect for junior golfers especially. Nate McCoy on our staff has said multiple times, I don't think anybody's given away more range balls to kids than Mark Egley. I think that says a lot about where Mark's heart is when it comes to growing the game. And Mark, we're all very, very thankful and grateful for that. With that, it's my pleasure to bring up Tess Gowdy, the Assistant Executive Director of the Iowa PGA, who works with Mark way more than I do.
Thanks, Chad. Congratulations to Mrs. Pribble, as I was introduced to her tonight. It was nice to hear your story and to hear everything about your husband. He was definitely well-deserving for this award. So thank you for your time and for being here. Also to Barbara, congratulations. I'm from Ottumwa. I grew up in Ottumwa. And I know Corky very well. And I'm pretty sure I played in that Eldora tournament that you're talking about. So this was a pleasure as well to get to know you and your story, so thank you. Also thanks to Wakanda and everything that they've done for hosting tonight. This is a beautiful venue and the meal was excellent as well. The IGA staff has done an excellent job as well. Caitlin and Chad and all the crew. You guys do a wonderful job and I know it's a lot of work, so thank you for your efforts. I'm excited to be here tonight to help honor and celebrate Mark Egley. No doubt many, if not all of you, know who Mark Egley is. He is the owner and operator at the Des Moines Driving Range and a PGA teaching professional. Some of the things that you may not know of Mark is that he will be celebrating 39 years of membership in 2022. 39 years. That is a long time, a very long time to make a huge impact in the game of golf here in Iowa and the Iowa PGA section. Some of his other accomplishments include being the 1988 Iowa PGA Match Play Champion and also the 1990 Iowa Open Champion. He has also won numerous Iowa PGA tournaments, and I'm guessing many junior and amateur tournaments prior to his professional career. He has been selected by the Iowa PGA Section Professionals and Award Committee numerous times and has been honored as the Iowa PGA Player Development Award recipient in 2015, 2017, 2019, and 2020. He has also been nominated and award recipient for the Iowa PGA Teacher of the Year in 2002, 2006, 2011, 2013, 2014, 2016, and 2021. That has to be some sort of record. 7 times he has been nominated and honored as the Iowa PGA Teacher of the Year. And I'm guessing he has probably been nominated twice as many times for that award. Mark has built his career on helping golfers get better and enjoy the game. But he hasn't just helped golfers, he has also transcended his teaching to other sports too, and has opened his operations and shared his skills to anyone looking to get better at their craft. A lot of the time, as you've already heard, he's done this at little or no charge. He has welcomed so many to his range and helped so many with their passions, oftentimes when they were not able to afford it. That says a lot about how caring and giving Mark is. Mark will do whatever he can to take care of his Iowa golf and Iowa PGA family, which includes all of us in this room. But most importantly, he's an excellent father and grandfather and brother. And I can think of no way that he could be more proud. I first met Mark in 1998 when I moved back from Iowa, from Missouri, to work at Geneva Golf and Country Club, as one of the assistant golf professionals there. Geneva was hosting an Iowa PGA golf event, and I was working the shop counter, and I believe I was taking skins money and checking the professionals in. I was new to the section, and when Mark came in, he introduced himself and took some time to get to know me, and we had a great conversation. I'm not sure if he remembers that or not, but I have never forgotten it. It took just a few minutes out of his day to get to know somebody and make them feel welcome. But that is what Mark does and who he is. That was 24 years ago. And I know he's been doing something similar every day since then, and probably many days prior to then as well. He makes people feel welcome by sharing his smile, talents, and zeal for life, and do whatever he can to help. Part of that conversation we had 24 years ago in the Geneva Pro Shop was that my mother's maiden name was Egley. Although the spelling is not exactly the same, I kind of like to think somehow we're related. Mark has supported me in my career in the Iowa PGA section since I joined them in 2001. And I know he's done the same for countless other PGA professionals, facilities, and amateur golfers. I've lost track of all the times he has praised and complimented me, and I'm forever grateful in that trust and belief. I can certainly say our programming is better because of his support and work with creating and developing golfers. There was one point when the Iowa Junior Tour was looking for a title sponsor. I never specifically asked Mark and the Des Moines Driving Range to consider this partnership, but he did, and he didn't hesitate. He jumped in and sponsored the program multiple times. He has shared this spirit and generosity to many other programs, organizations, and people. I like to think of Mark as a great teammate in the promotion of the game of golf, the team captain, if you will. The Iowa PGA and State of Iowa is lucky to have Mark on their side and appreciate all of his efforts and contributions. Congratulations, Mark. I am truly honored to help celebrate another great accomplishment for you. It's my pleasure to welcome you as an inductee of the Iowa Golf Hall of Fame.
First of all, the very first thing I'd like to do is, I was at the awards ceremony last fall for the awards for the Iowa Golf Association. And one young lady sitting over here, Rose Krzyzewski, was an award winner of the Bob Leahy Award. She came down with cancer and kind of had to miss the last half of the season when she was leaving for the Player of the Year. And I'd like to take a moment to have everybody. She's driven down here all the way from Dubuque to sit here and be tonight, so thank you so much, Rose. So, I'm only going to read for a while, but it's because I have so many people to be thankful for. The Wakanda Club, I appreciate this place. I had a horrible car accident in 1990. I took a little of the settlement money to see if I could play golf again. And these three beautiful girls and that one young man, we used to spend so much time down here. And we used to, Gene Elliott and Mike McCoy came in at the same time as members. And we had so many other husbands mad at us because like, these three guys are winning all the tournaments and that, and they're sitting at the pool with their families on Saturday and Sunday, and you guys are out playing 2 rounds of golf. But this place here has wonderful memories. The professionals here, Jim Webb's father, Jack Webb, was a best friend and a roommate for years in all the Turner Golf schools. And then there was, you know, Terry Beardsley came along, and then Rob Brown came along, and then who was Dave Schneider was after that, but then like the greatest professional in the world is here now, Aaron Kruger. He played my son in the match play a few weeks ago, who's now a golf professional, and they played. Aaron beat him, and he goes, Taylor, let's just keep on playing. I'm having such a nice time. And then Aaron wrote me the nicest note. Aaron is just one of the finest men and finest professionals that you could imagine. And I thank you for that. But I'm not going to talk about my golf game at all, but I'm going to talk about a couple of days. This Big Ten, Ross DeGear is here tonight. And I spent summers here. I played at Michigan State. We lived there 22 years. I'm looking at the list, and it was all the B's. I consider the Beer one of them. And there was Boris, and there was Beerich, and Nigel Birch. I'm thinking, there's none of these guys that I can't handle. And some kid from West Branch, Iowa, shoots 68 the last round. And I'm thinking, how did a freshman from West Branch, who could ever come out of West Branch besides Herbert Hoover? And it just happens that Mike and Mary McCarty had developed a similar golf program to what I had done here. And David Rummels was that young man, and he would become such a good friend. And then in '78, I was really a big fan of the USGA and the Western Golf Association. And there's been a number of players here that have won the Western Junior. And Gene Elliott is one of those, and Gene was one of the first people that I met when I came to Iowa. And then, so I was thrilled to death. I was medalist with Mark O'Meara and beat Payne Stewart and Nicholas Kidd and things like that. That was a big accomplishment. But the great thing about that day is I was really sick, but my brother Steve took the day off and came over and caddied for me so I could get through the day. And then in 1979, I made it through tour school, and it was so cold and so freezing, but again, my brother Doug stepped in to be there. And I'm only going to talk a little bit more about my golf game here at the very end. I'll talk a little bit about my friend Mike Lair. So now, you know, my career ended in 1990 for the most part, because I was going across the Mississippi River Bridge. I was playing the best golf of my life. I got to the Illinois side, and there was holes in the ground that weren't covered up by barricades, and I drove through there. 3 barricades came in the car. I lost about half use of my right arm, and they later on said I had a broken neck out of the deal. But I was so determined, because everybody said I was okay, that I didn't play again the whole summer. I played 3 rounds at Des Moines Golf in the PGA Section Championship. You know, like 72, 78, 83. And it just killed me. So then the Iowa Open came up, and I didn't play again. I played those 3 rounds. I didn't play any practice rounds. I hit the ball. I see Bob Moreland back there. Bob Moreland hit by me every hole. It's the shortest I ever hit it in my life, but I hit every fairway. And I was embarrassed at the end on how well I played, but I won the Iowa Open that year. And then I had surgery the following year, and then it was kind of over for a long time. So, so now I want to tell you, I'm going to talk about family a little bit later. But Sid Richardson, does anybody know that name? And Jim Carney, is Clyde Carney your father?
He had to leave.
Oh, okay. So, Sid Richardson was from Creston, Iowa. He won 2 Big Ten titles for Northwestern. He won the NCAA medalist right here at this place. And I think Clyde played in that NCAA championship right here at the Wakanda Club. And Sid Richardson would win the Western Junior like Gene Elliott did. And he would go on to be at Northwestern University, and he'd be the head golf coach there for years. But my grandmother is who got us all started in golf. And so my first hero was my grandmother was a great golfer. I was introduced to golf in Creston, Iowa, even though we lived in Michigan, and all I could hear about was Sid Richardson and his mother. And I am positive that Rick Brown wrote about Sid Richardson. And someday, I believe that when you look and see who Sid Richardson is, you would see that he's very deserving of being in this Hall of Fame also. So, I go back to Michigan, and my dad wouldn't like this because he hated name dropping. But my brothers and I grew up playing Cascades Golf Course or the Hills Brothers Golf Course. And I was 4 years older than one brother and 6 years older than another. And we had the greatest mentors there. And one of them was a guy named Wesley Kenneth Douglas. And he did everything for us. And we had Dave and Mike Hill from my hometown. And we went to junior golf. He was teaching grip, but I was like Bart. You know, you imitate. And Dave Hill, they said he had the best grip on the PGA Tour, and I had Golf Digest and Golf Magazine showing that, and I did that. And Ken Douglas looked at that, and he goes, my goodness, that's perfect. And that encouragement was something that I've tried to do for years and years and years. Every time, give genuine compliments your whole life. And the world just gets better every day. So, on June 28th, I was taught by Dave and Mike Hill by observing. And they between the two of them, they've won 40 or 50 times on the PGA or Senior PGA Tour. And I was blessed that Arnold Palmer was Dave Hill's best friend. And on June 28, 1973, Arnold Palmer, Gordie Howe, and Glenn Campbell came to Cascades to do a hockey fundraiser. And I walk into the back room, is I work for Ken, and he tells the three of them, he goes, if you need to know anything about the golf course, ask Mark. He knows. Dave and Mike taught him. And Arnold Palmer looked up and said, Ken, is this the next kid that Davey says is going to play the PGA Tour from Jackson, Michigan? He goes, yes, it is. Last Sunday, we drove down, Sean McCarty and I drove down to Tulsa because he's playing the PGA Championship there this week. And I found a video, I think Judd Gibb gave it to me, and we played it. And did you know golf courses, for all you young folks, they used to not have lasers? There wasn't 150-yard trees out there. There wasn't 100-yard, 150 and 200-yard markers out there. You had to go find them. And in those days, there wasn't driving ranges. And when Dave and Mike would hit balls, I'd stand here and I'd hit them. And you'll see on videos that I do every once in a while where I will go stand in front of people, and I think one of them is sitting right over here, that I would take videos from there, because I learned so much from watching Dave and Mike Hill swing through, and that their body actions were much different than what was being told to us in Golf Digest or Golf Magazine. And we get to the 5th hole that day, and one of my teammates was caddying for Arnold, and I was caddying for Glenn. And Arnold was known for going for it. I don't know if any of you knew that. But Arnold hit it farther up the hill than I'd ever seen on the 6th hole. It's a par 5. And Bill is going 185 yards. And I'm going, and next thing you know, he's looking at me like this. And I'm coughing again, and I'm going like this, and I coughed like 3 times, and I gave up. Arnold gets up and hits 5-iron. He hits at 185 yards, and he stomps over. Glenn Campbell and I are standing right there, and Glenn had hit this par 5 and 2, pin high. Arnold stomps over to me, and he was angry. He goes, "Are you sick?" I said, "No, sir. I'm about ready to do something in my pants. I'm that petrified." He goes, "What were you coughing about then?" I said, "It was 213 yards to the flag." And he stomped off and he stepped it off. And so I'm sitting there, we're sitting here pin high, and Arnold comes stomping over to me. He goes, "You were wrong. I got 213 and a half, and don't you leave my side the rest of the day." He grabs me by the head. And at that moment, I was able to become a lifelong person that Arnold Palmer treated like one of his own kids. So, and what was really great is on that video that we played last Sunday when we went down there, Dave Hill was known for being rambunctious. And if you ever heard about the 40 acres of corn and some cattle, that was Dave Hill's comment. But that video alludes to it, that those were Arnold's comments. And Arnold could never say anything like that. And in time I spent with Mr. Palmer down in Orlando, he admitted, "Hey, Davey took one for the team on that one," because that was my feelings. So now I want to go to being in Des Moines, Iowa. I moved here in 1979 to play the U.S. Open qualifying. My first friends were hard to come by because all I did was play. So I played U.S. Open qualifying here, and I was first alternate to make it to Pinehurst to tour school that spring, and I didn't make it. But every day I was playing golf with my brother Steve twice at Des Moines Golf and sitting by the pool. So a Dr. John Wilson asked me to play golf one extra day. And if I wasn't playing golf professionally, I was working at the clubhouse at Michigan State for $2.25 an hour. And it's my last day here. I'm going back to Michigan. I'm walking up the circular stairs at Des Moines Golf, and the professional there, Roger Padgett, says, "You the golf pro that's been out here playing all the time?" And he goes, "Get in here." And I'm kind of petrified. What am I going to do to embarrass my Uncle Al or my parents right now, because I didn't want that wrath? And he questions me about what I've been doing. He had wrongfully terminated a great professional and Vietnam veteran, Tim Cruzan, but it created a position. And then when Tim quit, his accountant quit, because they didn't want to have anything that, and oddly enough, he ended up losing his job the next year, and the great J.D. Turner came in. So karma sometimes is the greatest thing ever. I'm sitting there and he asked me, have you ever taught anybody to play golf? I said, well, I'm getting an education degree, so yes, I've been doing it for a long time. And he goes, what are you looking at? There's a picture on the wall there. It was Arnold Palmer. He goes, oh, yeah, that's Arnold. I was the first Arnold Palmer recipient at Wake Forest. I said, oh, that's fantastic. And I said, that's really kind of cool to know, because he's kind of a mentor to me. He's going like, yeah. Of course you are. I said, no, I saw him a few weeks ago. He calls up Arnold Palmer. He says, I'm sitting here with a young guy here that says he knows you. And Arnold goes, he knows he's in Des Moines, Iowa. He goes, oh, is Mark still there? And all of a sudden Roger looks at me and he's kind of like in a state of shock. But he goes, oh yeah, I was just with him a few weeks ago and he was headed up to tour school, And he knew I didn't make it because first alternates don't always get in. And he goes, well, I was thinking about hiring him as a teacher. And he goes, oh, in a heartbeat, you should hire him. And he goes, he's like a son to me, make sure you pay him well. And so they do their niceties, they hang up, and he says, I can offer you $30 a half hour for golf lessons, and I can offer you $350 a week salary. And I'm thinking $2.25 for 40 hours. I'm sticking around. So the next thing I do is I stay, and I'm at Sacred Heart Church, and I meet a guy named Joe Brown. And Joe Brown was my Uncle Al's idol, and I'd been hearing about him for 20 years. And we hit it off. And one day, I've been very fortunate to know all of our governors. Thank you for being here tonight, Governor. Joe Brown says, I can't teach out here at Des Moines Golf. Him and Roger didn't get along. He goes, come in the pro shop. We're going to get a call here in about 10 minutes. And I go in there, we didn't have these things back then. And the phone rings, gets on. Hold on, one moment, please. And on the other end is, Mark, this is Bob Ray. And we're having a meeting down here tomorrow, and Joe says you can make it. And the Pope was coming to town. And Bishop Dingman was having a little bit of trouble with stress, and the Pope demanded that he have a hobby. And he picked golf. And they had rules that I couldn't call him Bishop, Your Honor, you couldn't do anything like that. So I'm on the driving range. I don't know very many people yet. And I'm calling him Mo. Come on, Maurice, do this and do that. And I get pulled by the ear by a member. His name is not Maurice. And Bishop Dingman says, no, we're out here having fun. He goes, we're buddies. And so that's because of Joe Brown. And then Joe Brown became my chauffeur for the next few years. And it was there that I got to meet great Hall of Famers like Joe August. I got to meet, Jerry Johnson became one of the crew. And what it was like to be able to sit there and never say a word. And before I say anything else, my sister Barb is right there. And for the first 5 years of my life, she did all of my talking for me. I never talked.
Yes, that is a true story.
Then I get here to Iowa, and this great friend of Ken Schall's is Ed Schumann. Didn't like Ed at first, but in 1981, I was blessed to become the first color commentator for ESPN Golf when I did an NCAA championship. I was working with Mike Bender a little bit that week. And they sent out 2 hockey announcers. That's how new ESPN was, and they didn't know anything about golf, so I got the first paid gig of being an announcer. And it was quite a nice deal, and Mike ended up winning the tournament, and we've been friends ever since. But then after that, Ed Schumann says, okay, Lurch, you need to start talking. You need to make friends. There's more to life than saying, nice shot, good shot, thank you, sir. So, Ed Schumann is to blame for my conversations. So now, I need to skip way forward. So I won the Iowa Open, and I can't defend. I ended up they found out what was wrong. I had major surgery, and I didn't play golf for a couple of years. So, there was these things with BS, where some people think you're telling funny stories. And when I had a horse accident between 4th and 5th grade, I was riding on a horse, and my arm was broken here. at a 90-degree angle, doing farm work where the horse roared up between my uncle and cousin, went back to the barn, rolled over in the ditch, and my sister broke her arm that week before, my grandparents, she got a cast. I got stuck in the hospital for like 10 days. I thought that was like the most unfair thing in the world. So.
But I'm not up here giving a speech.
Yeah, but all my brothers and sisters can really play the game of golf. And you should see this guy here, he hits it really good too. So, the next year, when I have the surgery I don't defend, I'm stuck at a table with Bob Feller and Lake Panorama. And I had so many friends, like Barb Forsythe, thank you for coming tonight. But what it's like, it was a family up there. The game of golf was just incredible. My Uncle Al lived up there. And so I'm sitting at the front counter, and Bob Feller's, we're sitting at the table, and people were walking by, there was hundreds of people because it was a pro-am. Oh, nice to meet you, Mr. Feller. Oh, Mark, it's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. Great, sorry you can't play. And people paraded by. Finally, it comes down, and Feller looks at me and goes, I don't know who the hell you are, but I've never been showed up anything like this where I've made a speech in my life. And it was that point in time that led to celebrity. Next thing you know, his best friend was Ted Williams. And next thing you know, this guy's just a little guy about I'd say he was about 6 years old. And here, he's having fun with Ted Williams. And I can remember there's David Young back there. Nobody believed his story when he went to work for Jim Bunning as a United States Senator. And then he had to go show where he was sitting on the lap with Bob Feller as a young kid, being from Van Meter, Iowa. So sometimes in sports, we just have the joy of making friends. The friends you would never believe you could make. And so now, I want to sit there and take a moment and thank so many people that have made my life so good. The Turner Golf Group, Sean and his boys, we went down to see in Savannah, we saw JD a month or so ago, and I was able to thank him for all he did for me. But we did golf schools, and the great people that I dealt with, like John Bermel, Bill Kammeyer, Darren Justice, Kurt Snell, Jerry Smith, Sean McCarty, Ken Shaw, Dave Randy, Jerry Johnson, Chad Pearl, Judd Gibb, Jack Webb, Bob Taze, Larry Gladson, and many more. That's what this Iowa golf family was all about, and we were all best friends. The golf camps I did with Chris Winkle, Judd Gibb, Julie Manning, Jack and Jim Webb, and Mark Hankins, John Benda, and Dale Anderson. That was the best. And I talked about my peers. I've already talked about the Wakanda professionals, but that Hyperion, Ross DeBeer, and Adam Pritchard, they're just absolute saints. You know what it's like to have friends like this in the community. At Des Moines Golf, there was Rick Tegmeyer, but then my brother-in-law Marty was best friends with Bill Byers, and then Chris Cohen, he was one of those Preston kids. Out at Des Moines Golf right now, Tom Warnock, John Austin, Wes Methods, Jim Sutter, and Don and Norma Riggy. These are the people that I've been blessed to be around, and they've made my life so much better because they made my facility great, because I wasn't much of a greenskeeper when I bought my facility. So when I took over at Willow Creek, the USGA, the Western Golf Association, the PGA were everything. And one of the things I did is I had Leo Hayden come out. My best friend Jerry Vidovic was a USGA Pub Links champion, and I was selling the USGA to these kids. And I think Dave was one of the young kids out there then, and Jim was one of them. Leo come out and sign these kids up to play, and I'll write the check. It was only $7 at the time, so it wasn't a bank breaker. But I instilled in them that you had to play USGA events. We had 4 players who had already played in the Masters, and Mike McCoy would later play in the Masters. And what was Sarge Fontanini was there. Joe Brown was helping with this program, but we instilled competition. And thankfully, Dave is still here today, pursuing the love of the game of golf and helping me out more than you could ever imagine. In 1996, this is where it gets important to me. In 1996 and before this, Governor Ray, Bob Rice was our sheriff, and there was an inner city leader that was a coach of golf at Roosevelt, and Cy Forster was his name. And I sat in the court with my cousin Carol over there, was a juvenile court judge. And you later find out those in juvenile court end up in the courts later on in life. And I've been in the courtroom so many times listening. And Sheriff Rice, big, tall man, strong as could be. Then I was able to meet Kevin Schneider here, who's now our sheriff in Des Moines, Iowa. And we took on some of the worst kids in the world and some of the most indigent, but we were able to start a program. And in 1996, we were taking kids out of the homes of Oak Ridge where there was no parents, where there was grandmothers raising the children. And one of the best days of my entire life teaching was with this program. And in the back of the room, there is Matt Jeter. Matt Jeter is the head football coach at Simpson College today. And he's an unbelievable leader. And I find out a while ago that Matt was one of the young leaders, the 4 people that came with these young people. And it's so wonderful to see that he is still developing young people's lives. And when you hear the name Jeter, he's only in 9th grade, but he's got a son that is so fast you can't believe it. And as a matter of fact, Sean McCarty's daughter's boyfriend was a wide receiver for Matt the last few years. We were down in South Carolina with my brothers, and they said, what an incredible man he is. And so one day, we had these kids that ran away, and the only reason they came back was because of golf. And so we did an extra session for them that week. And we had one kid that was the one who ran away that was a troublemaker, and I didn't know the sister was right here. But they wanted to have partners, and I said, I'll pick partners. And they thought that was prejudice. No big problem. I said, but if you're partners, you'll never get to talk. So if you're not partners, you can sit in back and talk to each other. They thought that was the greatest thing ever. And then her brother was down there knocking extra balls, and I said, hey, would you take a second and look at everybody else hit a shot here? And he did. He goes, why'd you want me to do that? I said, well, I just want everybody else to catch up to you. So at the end of that day, this little girl who's had to live with a brother from hell her whole life comes up crying, and I thought maybe her brother did something. And I said, what's wrong? And she looked at me in total tears, and she goes, thank you so much. This was the first fair day of my entire life. And it was like the most warming thing, and it's motivated me. And I want to thank Governor Culver. I don't know if you know this, but he's done more for golfers. I'm thankful for Governor Reynolds for allowing the golf industry to go this last 2 years so we could have social life and interaction, and it's been the best, and it's the healthiest thing we could do. But Governor Culver, known him a long time, anytime I've ever asked him for anything, come to a dinner, whether it was a Zach Johnson deal or anything else, anything related to golf or anything related to kids, that's what my friend Chet Culver could do and does, and we'll probably ask him more now that he's in public service. And this last year, this program, you know, the first tee came along soon thereafter, but Dave got a hold of Kevin and said, let's do this again. And last year, we got it going again, where we were bringing refugee children. In Urbandale, Iowa, there's all kinds of kids from Afghanistan. We had kids that didn't know how to speak the language. And Kevin was out there, and he had 15 deputies with him. At least that every time, and staff. And some of these kids didn't eat very well, but Kevin Snyder made sure he brought lunches and extra lunches for these kids to take home to the brothers and sisters. And it's like a pound of prevention is worth, and it's a model that we live by. And we're going to do it again this year. And so now I want to shift over to my family. In my family, there's 5 of us that are golf professionals. My brother Doug is the head professional at, well, he's head professional when he was at North Texas State, where Hayden Fry came from. He's had numerous positions. It's always been onward and upward. He's at DeFusky Island now. And he's my most respected golf professional that I admire and try to live up to. He was the NCAA women's coach at North Texas, and they honored him, the Women's Coaches Association, to take the elite team to Japan. And that's how highly, every time I'm around the country, is Doug Egley your brother. And Steve were younger, but boy, they had a golf team in high school. There was a kid named Steve Manalina, Trip Harden, Steve and Doug. It was one of the most formidable golf teams in high school you could imagine. And then we came to Iowa. And I look around this room, and I'm so proud my son is a golf professional now, but it's because of the leadership of guys like Sean McCarty, my brother Doug. You know, going down to DeFusky Island is just a heaven sent. thing for us. My sister Laura over here, my sister Barb over here, her daughter Julie here. I got my daughter Tess. I got my family here. You see these little guys right here? These guys are such great parents. And my brother Mike is back over here. And there's just the crew of people that have come here tonight to support me is unbelievable. I look over here, the involvement. We had a little girl who lost her father this year. Right over here is a 3-time state champion, Victoria Grasso. And the best deal I ever made was trading babysitting for my beautiful daughter Lindsay here. And Mike and Paloma did that. So we could trade golf lessons for babysitting. Best deal I've ever made. And so there's been so many great things that have gone on. And I have to talk about Tom and Gertrude Mullen. I talked about my grandmother a little bit, but my father's father died when he was 2. My mother was an orphan at 2 years old. And Tom and Gertrude Mullen said they're distant family relatives. We cannot let these children be split up. They adopted them all. And she's the one who got us started in golf. She adopted a couple other kids, John and Brady Reynolds. And John Brady would go on to be Jack Nicklaus's pilot. And he would fly Jack out here to do pheasant hunting and things like that. So as a little kid like this, Jack Nicklaus, you saw him on TV. But Tom and Gertrude Mullen poured more love into these children than you could ever imagine. And none of us is here today if it isn't for the love they showed. Now for golf in Iowa, my father, Darrell Egley, my mother, Sally Egley, my uncle Al Egley, and my Aunt Billy. There's 3 or 4 Hall of Famers in the room right now that have stayed in the home. Kelly Brook, my sister Brooke, my sister Beth, I don't know if you know this, but my sister Beth was a great player. She played in the U.S. Open. And then Taylor's a golf professional, Doug's a golf professional, my sister Beth and her husband Bill were. And Doug being at North Texas State, he's the one who brought Joel Edwards to town. David Ogren would come to town. And these people were housed by our aunts and uncles and family. And it has done so much for golf, and they both come back here to play in the Principal Charity Classic. They've both been PGA Tour winners. Danny Edwards has been a big part of the family. He went on tour 4 times. And the love of the game. I know it was a Kevin Costner movie, and it was baseball, but our family has had the love of the game like there's been nothing ever before. And as I try to close here in a minute, that health has hit me hard. And there's 2 people in the room. I have a rare genetic condition that's only been found 8,000 times, and I had to self-diagnose after my friend and classmate, Dr. Michael Foggia, found that I had this weird-looking kind of emphysema. I have emphysema and COPD, and I've never smoked once in my life. And it's been a wonderful major medical discovery. But when I was doing the research, because I had a medical background, I had thought that I'd killed myself being a superintendent by doing chemicals bad. I went to Jim Sedrell out at Hyperion and said, Jim, I got a problem. Did I kill myself? And right away he says, Mark, no, you didn't. I have a University of Iowa study, and I can go over the whole thing with you. He was so wonderful, and I was just getting to know him. And it shows you where, Greg, you were talking about the superintendents and how wonderful they are and how Charlie is. I've run into that with all these great superintendents that have come to help me. And they have a shining moment like this tonight. And when my playing career was over in 90, I never imagined that I would make it to this room and be in front of all of you. I said I would only talk a little bit about my golf game, but my idol was Mike and Dave Hill. I had the opportunity to play a PGA Tour event where Mike was at. And Dave Stockton and Mike were walking by to the first tee, and my ball was up on the walkway, and the official said, no, you can't get a free drop. And I said, but if I hit it left-hand, I could get a free drop. He goes, you're not left-handed. So I went ahead and hit it. And I hit it about 50 yards, flew it up on the green. And the crowd goes wild. It was the biggest round of applause I'd ever had. And so I picked up Mike to go to dinner that night. He goes, hey, great shot back there on number 9. I go, did you see it? He goes, no. I've never heard a crowd that loud for a penalty drop before, so I knew you hit it left-handed. So now, I'll get to the end of my night here. This is Mike Lair. And you would know his family name because one of his close relatives was the lion in The Wizard of Oz, Bert Ross. And so, my last tour event, and you can tell now when I say it, you think, oh my God, he looks like him. So, he's caddying for me. He was a big executive with Ruan here. And it's cold, it's rainy, it was during the Ryder Cup. People were in watching that. They had just come out, it was on number 9 at Oakwood. And on my last 4 holes, not many people can say they birdied 3 of the last 4 holes they played on the PGA Tour, and it was 1995. And I'm in the bunker out there, and there is so many people around the 9th green. Everybody's been in the clubhouse, they're there. And I'm scared to death. If I hit 3-iron here, I'm gonna end my career killing somebody. So I'm taking a wedge out. I'm looking down there, and I look up and I see Mike. And all I could think of is, have a little courage. Have a little courage. I take the 3-iron out, and I hit the best shot of my life. It lands within 3 feet on the green, and the green is really long, and the pin is like, there's the start of the green, the pin's right here. I go all the way to the back of the green, I'm on the green. The longest putt I make in my entire life is on that hole. And it was the loudest roar that I will ever have for anything in my lifetime. And my mother, who's no longer with us, my brother was there, my kids were there. They said, my little 5'4" mother jumped this high off the ground. And so I'm sitting here. You can go to markegley.com. My great friend Brian Baltatat, I've made a medical discovery. I'm not going to spend 15 seconds on it. But it's amazing. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be gone on September 25th, 2016. I have emphysema and I'm not sitting here coughing and that. I'm a miracle to myself that I get to see little Barrick here. My granddaughter Odette is sitting here. Luca's around here someplace. And I'm so proud that my children have become such great parents because these children were so well behaved. You're doing the greatest job in the world. And there's so many people here I love in this world, and there's a lot of them surrounding this room. Thank you so much. I appreciate the Hall of Fame Induction Committee for allowing me to be with this group tonight and tell a little bit of a story that I hope you can relate to. Thank you.